Hello, today I'm going to be talking about how I pass the real estate exams. Now, the real estate exams is not for the faint hearted. Let me just say that because you may think that it is easy at first while doing practice test papers, but in actual fact, the real exam really, really is not as easy as it seems. Because if you think option A is correct, wait till you look at option B because they all look so similar. You get confused. And to really answer it correctly, you must know your facts crystal clear. You must understand your concepts very well. And you must be clear headed when you read the question and not and see through the smoke and mirrors in order to put down the right answer. Okay, so that you must be so clear such that when you look at the test paper or you check your test paper one more time, you are still sure that that is the right answer. Okay, so let me backtrack a bit. Before you get to that stage of the exam, you must first study. Yes, that's this right. You cannot spend just 1 week of studying because based on from what I see, in terms of the community that of people that in a way are studying with me as well. Last minute is really not an option because if you're going to do it last minute, might as well don't do it because you're just going to waste another $400. And the exams is not cheap as well. It's pretty expensive. For two papers, it's about $400 plus. For one, it's about $200 plus. Now, it's not just about the money; it's about the time spent in studying, and time is money. So the more time you have, in a way, you save more money because you don't have to repeat that so many times. And then when you study, you must study in a way that would help you to be exam smart, would help you to answer the question with ease and confidence in a way. So I didn't pass both papers the first round. I only passed one paper, partly because I did not spend sufficient time to memorize the facts that was required in paper two. Now, if you know, paper two is loaded with numbers, with tables, with uh, facts about HDB and many other things, not just HDB. And the thing is, when I was studying about the real estate exam, I did not realize. I mean, I was surprised that many of the tables that you see in the notes actually have to be embedded in your head. So you have to literally memorize them very well. Okay, not only that, dates are very important. Now, dates is my Achilles heel, and wow, it's just difficult to memorize dates for me. I guess when I was learning, they say that if you tag the date to like a memory from your past or your personal experience, it's much easier to remember that date. So I would tag the date to birthdays, for example. So uh okay, yeah. So yeah, practically birthdays. I cannot remember a single date right now. But yeah, if you do that, it'll be much easier to remember the dates because when the question comes up and there's a date, you know that you have to recall and remember, does this fall within the date or before the date, and how much is it? Like, for example, the SSD dates and things like that. Okay. And also, for paper one, basically, it's more of a conceptual kind of learning because when I was learning about paper one, it was very interesting because it felt like you were studying something about being a real estate lawyer, and then looking at, you were learning about what constitutes a contract, you were learning about conditions of sale, you were learning about, wait, conditions of sale, is it paper one? I'm not too sure. But anyway, there's a lot of law concepts about easements, a right of way, and things like that. So it was fairly interesting. But when it came down to questions and case studies, that's when it really kicks in. And if you don't understand those concepts, you'll be struggling when you're doing the case study, because the story isn't really a question. The question is phrased like a story. So you have to understand the story and then understand what the question is asking after that. Okay. Of course, during the exam, the second time round, I was a bit more shrewd in a way. So I make sure that I had enough time to do the paper twice, like twice. I had enough time to check. I had enough time to really answer the question properly. Okay. Well, not all questions are difficult. There are definitely some that are easy. So when they are easy, you just have to answer them and then move on. Okay. Now they say the trick is go from section C to section A and then back to front essentially. Now that's kind of strange because in school you go from front to back, but back to front. But actually, that theory is not wrong, because when you do section C, section B, and section C basically is open ended, and it really is the kind of questions that when you see, you will straight away know the answer to it, and you write it down, it is probably right. But for section B, you probably need to ponder, and for section A, you probably will take the longest. And sometimes you may even get the answer for section C in section A and B if you really read the sentences, because all they need are keywords, right? And don't be misleaded by the size of the box. Sometimes, or the line of the gap that they give, sometimes it may be 2 words instead of 1 word, but no one's going to tell you that unless it's pretty obvious. Or if it's quite straightforward, then you know that it is maybe 2 words. Okay, so of course, because it's written, they're asking for words. Spelling is very important. Spelling, hyphenation, and acronyms. Acronyms are very important. I like memorizing acronyms because it's very easy for me to memorize something that is um, in an acronym and then write it out. So I usually practice on a piece of paper over and over and over again, and it gets really easy when I get to that stage. So so it was pretty easy for me the second round. I was quite confident. In a way, when you finish the test paper, uh, you instinctively will know whether you pass or not. If the feeling is genuine, in the sense that you don't feel worried or you don't feel scared, you probably will pass. But if you are just uh, pretending to be confident, then you probably won't, because a high percentage of people will fail the exam, and that's how the exam is designed. And also, there is a certain quota that they let people pass and let people fail. I mean, it's understandable because you cannot have thousands and thousands of real estate agents entering the market after every exam, right? Because that would really flood the market with way too many real estate agents. You want quality over quantity. So people who really pass the exam, I feel, are people who are really want this really bad, because it really does take a lot of effort to study and to really have that focus and drive and determination and patience to really understand, sit down, do the test papers, and things like that. I feel that studying has many different types. Some people, they just like to study by themselves. Some people like to study in a group. Some people like to study outside, or some people like to study at home. But I personally prefer studying at home because I don't have to be distracted by uh, things that are around me, or I don't have to worry about when I'm hungry, because I can just go to the kitchen and prepare something to eat. But most importantly, it simulates the exam atmosphere, because when the exam starts, it's just pin drop silence, and you can really focus in the zone when you're doing the mock test paper, for example, and then you sort of train that kind of scenario in the real in the real exam. Yeah. So in a way, you'll be mentally prepared. But what I felt was very useful is you should have a small community of people that are in the same boat as you, because when you are able to answer people's questions, or even better, when you are able to teach people, you are in a way cementing your knowledge about that topic. And then it will be a lot more stronger, a lot more clearer to you, or you're more confident when you are recalling that fact or recalling that concept to apply to different questions. So I feel there are 4 steps to learning and learning it well. Number one is learn it. Learn it. Learn it by yourself first, and then number two, you have to um, try to wait. Number one, in a way, number one and number two is the same. You have to memorize it, understand it, do it in a sense you have to do questions, and then you have to teach it. Okay, so that's 4 stages. Once you hit stage 4, you probably are very good at it already. So you don't have to worry. If you're able to teach someone, you probably will be able to answer any questions that comes your way. Yes. But nonetheless, you definitely get very nervous because it's extremely cold. I don't know why the exam venue is so cold all the time, and in a way, you have to be confident of your knowledge and your preparation when you go to the exam, because I really do not advise you to go to the exam if you are not prepared. Okay, don't waste money, don't waste time, don't waste unnecessary anxiety. Go when you're confident, because honestly speaking, the route to becoming a real estate agent, even to the point where you close a deal, is quite long, I would say, for me. So I started in June and now it's February. So you can see how long is that. Yeah, right. And of course there's a lot of administration and there's a lot of waiting time in between. So you really have to plan your life around it in a way. A lot of people do part-time, but I suppose part-time works, but I don't know how you are going to sort of do part-time when, for example, if you're doing a rental, you're doing rentals purely in the weekends. Um, Sometimes you have clients that want to look at houses in the weekdays, so you probably cannot cater to that group of people. And when it comes to weekends, um, yes, you can bring them over, but what if you have other things during the weekend and you just let the buyer, no, let the tenant view the houses themselves? That wouldn't be very nice, isn't it? So I don't know how do they juggle part-time, uh, like how do you juggle as a part-time real estate agent? But because I myself, I mean, being a full-time agent, I find this very, very hectic in a way. Yeah, yes, there's pretty much no work-life balance, I would say. Don't be surprised. This industry is a 24 hours industry. No one gives a shit whether you are celebrating Chinese New Year or not, because they are not Chinese. So if it's time to negotiate, if it's time for viewings, you will have to go. Yes. But of course, if you are able to close it, then you don't have to drag it for too long. But the thing is, what if you don't, right? So that's the thing. Um, I would say this is the toughest job I have ever done so far. I have not done a lot of jobs, but I would say this is the one that really makes me feel like a fish out of water, because this is literally so different. This is so different from what I have been doing before. Uh, yeah, I guess, I mean, talk about being out of your comfort zone. This is really far away from my comfort zone. So I hope I do well. I don't know. But what I can offer you is if you are really determined to be a real estate agent, you really, really have to study hard, you have to study smart, you have to be very confident, and you have to be willing to spend time to to study and to, in a way, wait, like literally wait for your license to be approved, and then wait for um, things to eventually pan out for you, you know, because it's impossible for you to earn, like, for example, 5k in like the first month, I feel, unless you already have a job waiting for you. But I mean, I don't think it's possible, honestly, because um, you do need to know how to do it before you do it. I don't believe in faking it until you make it, because I feel that it's so risky for a high ticket item like a house, for example. Okay. Yes, and there's a lot of independent learning to this, right? So, okay, that is part two, but part one is really about the exam. So if you are uh, going to take the February, I would say March, like it's already February already. There's supposed to be a February exam. I don't know why they have not released the slots. Uh, I think be it might be in April now, because usually if they are going to announce it, no, they probably in March. Sorry, if they are going to be announcing it in February, maybe the 4th February, maybe. So your exam will probably be on the 5th or 6th of March. Okay. Now, but before exams, you must so I mean, before taking the exams, one very very important step that I must emphasize is, when you are signing up for the exam, don't take the time for granted. For example, they say, oh, the slots will be open at 9 a.m. on, for example, 5th February. It will be open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, don't wait till even 10 o'clock. Be at the computer at 9 or even 8:50, and make sure you're plugged into the the higher speed internet you have, because you have to practically fastest finger first click on the link, click everything you need to, and register for the exam, right? And that's very important. Okay, now, because yeah, if you don't get a slot, then you don't get a slot. You have to wait for the next session, right? So think about it. Be prepared. If you have any questions about the real estate exam, drop me a comment below and let me know. I'll be happy to share with whatever knowledge I have. And good night.